Good evening, everybody, and welcome to BTA number 14. It seems a long time since we were last here, and thinking back to the last one, which was October, it's 6 months. Yeah, but we've got a really good show for you tonight. As always, in a few moments, the inimitable Carys will take the stage. And then from the USA, I'm really honoured to have two wonderful ladies, Sherry Finzer and Suzanne Lansford, who are travelling around. Well, they've been to Paris, but I'm sure they'll tell you all about that when they come on stage. And then I will play a little later on when everyone's finished, and I will hopefully be joined by Sherry and Suzanne for a little bit of fun. But anyway, before all of that, I'd like to welcome to the stage, as always, the wonderful, the inimitable Carys.
6 months since I did a gig. This is going to be fun. You know that frozen shoulder I had last year? Yeah, I've had this one as well now. So that's kind of why it's been 6 months since I've done a gig. So you're only getting one guitar track tonight, and this is it. And pretty sure you won't have heard it before. And it's a song sort of about writing a song.
Original thought, a spark in the darkness, just a nugget of awe, the promise of more, and around it not quite out of reach, the idea shines. Place the ore in the fire, bellows fanning the tin, glimpse the concept within. The molten rock glows, and slowly around it the plan starts to flow. Catch the quicksilver hook as it runs through your mind. Run after the emerald hummingbird flash before she can leave you behind. Fly like the wind. Copper-tinged words like leaves whirl past on the breeze. Stitch them together like dew on the heather, finding the magical moment you start to believe. Now the music swells round, copper bright swell of sound, imagined and yet now they're attracting the stare of the peacock unfurling his tail, revealing the wild golden grail. And I sing,
Thank you. And that is as much as I'm risking with the guitar tonight. But on the upside, at least I've played it again. So, I'm being really kind and generous and letting David back me on these now. So I'm pretty sure I'm not doing anything tonight that's been done at a stream before. So yeah, that's kind of, I think that's the first time that's happened since about the third one. So this is another relatively new one. And it's about something, and I'm going to let you figure out what it's about. It's really, really obvious to me, but maybe not to other people, and this is called Queen of Consequences. Is that not the one we've got next?
It is now.
Is it? Fantastic. God, I love being organised. A regimented line, my children stand, my innocent soldiers, ordained to stand before us and forever moving forward. In this ancient game, I feel like I've been here before. The gods make them move and we obey. I seem to remember 1,000 other battles. Always I try to protect them. Always some will fall away. The crooked knight writes down his private hell. His steed can reach my soldiers. Nothing more than pawns who wander blindly into chaos. In this ancient game, I believe that I've been here before, keeping one eye on the time. Even my enemy, beholden to a different plan. Always I try to protect them. Always some will fall away. The rook stands proud on castle walls, flies straighter than an arrow. My bishop walks eternally to carve the sign of crosses. In this ancient game, I know that I've been here before. My opponent never changing. Without me, the king is sure to lose the battle. Always I try to protect them. Always some will fall away. Yes, I know that I've been here 1,000 times before. You know I hold the power. Each time my path becomes a little clearer. This time, will I protect them? Or will I be the one to fall away? Thank you. Now, next in my hymnal, I've got Old Winter. Is that what you've got? Okay, that's slightly concerning because, all right, okay, good. So that's the order I've got them in. All right, okay. Well, I'm going to do Old Winter and whatever David presses he's going to play, and we'll meet at the end, okay? So, folks who came to Invocations last October will have already heard this one. If you didn't, you probably haven't. This is a completely true story. This is about the last cunning man of Ipswich. I think we'll put this out of the way for a bit. Yeah, we'll put that over there. No, we're going to put that over there, actually. There. Sorry, whenever you're ready, I'm just fiddling around here. No, I'm just fiddling. I can fiddle around all night. It's fine. Who's the good cunning man of Ipswich town? Old Winter. Late February 1744, a knock came at the young apprentice's door. The master's passed on to heavenly reward. You're the cunning man now, you're the cunning man now. Winter was young, but no fool was he. He'd studied hard and long at his master's knee. Not only spells and the future to foresee, but also man's susceptibility. Early April came, and with it his first trial. Farmer Garnham, tall and broad and hurling bile, for his sheep were suffering from disease most vile. Since Mrs. Pett the witch had stared at them across the stile. Now Winter knew a good farm from a bad, and a lack of care left sheep both sick and sad. But to tell the farmer this would make him mad, and a beating was most unappealing to the lad. So he raised his staff, he turned 3 times around, drew several crooked stars upon the ground, told Garnham that the witch was surely bound, but to give the sheep right hay and keep them safely warm and sound. Well, a week went by and now a sheep had died. The angry farmer swore the witch was thwarting all he tried, or maybe the young cunning man about his skills had lied. So in the tavern with strong ale for Winter soon was plied, full drunk on ale at last for Winter's blood. Mrs. Pett's no witch at all, because I would have heard, but name a sick sheep after her and let the beast be burnt. Such a dark job means your fortune would be done. The next day Winter woke in fear to pounding at his door. All that remained of Mrs. Pett were 2 boots on the floor. He raced to Garnham's farm, the scene that shook him to the core. The farmer's wife had burned a sheep 2 feet while he saw. The news spread all across the miles, all Suffolk knew his name. Instead of feeling pride, the poor lad hung his head in shame. For the ghastly immolation, he was the one to blame. So Winter took a solemn vow to never harm again. Down the years he kept his word and took to righting wrongs. In Stowmarket a labourer stole wood blocks from a farm. One wave of Winter's hand, the man walked round the whole night long. Finally exhausted, took the wood blocks back where they belonged. A young man stealing vegetables in the dead of night. Winter raised his hand and froze him to his shovel tight. All through the darkness he stood there unmoving in his flight. Then the neighbours woke and caught him just as soon as it was light. At 80 years of age old Winter finally settled down. His apprentice took his trade and Winter moved to Alborough town. But a child peered through the keyhole, and to her dismay she found 6 pat-like imps that vanished in the ground.
the good cunning man of Ipswich Town on winter.
Thank you. The guitar hates us, yeah. Yeah. Folks who've seen it before know that has a really cool guitar solo in the middle where it didn't just tonight. Yes. So anyway, I need a drink now. The stuff I've got here, it's fine. It's all right, we come prepared around here. Next on my hymnal, I have Dark Heart. Have you got Dark Heart? Okay, so this is. Yeah, that's number one. That's never been number one. I think that. It was going to be number one for the live stream we had to cancel in January. That's why. But we've changed things around, so that's why. That I understand now. I'm sorry to be confusing. No, it's number 4 tonight. So anyway, this is another local one. This was the famous story of Dunwich is the bells, and that you can hear them beneath the waves. But the one that isn't so famous is literally just a single paragraph about a young lady called Ava who was spurned by her lover. So she cut out her heart and threw it in the sea, as you do. And that's pretty much all there is, and it's supposedly cursed, and there is occasionally something that washes up on Dunwich Beach. It's some sort of sea pod or something that looks superficially like a heart, but we all know the truth, don't we? And this is the story of Dark Heart.
You can take the frosted sea glass, hang it on a string. You can take the salty samphire, steam it on the fire. You can take the driftwood, you can take the seagull's feather, you can take the white quartz stone. Don't touch the dark heart. A storm grey cliff, a wind-blown dusk, wherever walked alone. Far out to sea, beyond the waves, her lover sailed from home. He'd promised Eva riches and excitement. She was willingly seduced by such enticement, but at last his lies caught up with him. Now Eva walks alone. You can take the frosted sea glass, hang it on a string. You can take the salty samphire, steam it on the fire. You can take the driftwood, you can take the seagull's feather, you can take the white quartz stone. Don't touch the dark heart. Cursing her fate, love turned to hate. She raged into the night. In fury dark, cut out her heart and cast it to the tide, to search for her lost love through time and weather, to drag him home and force them back together. May my heart bring dire misfortune to any hand it finds. A legend now, but when the sky is stormy, and seagulls scream their stories to the sea. You hear the church bells ringing from beneath the waves. Rivers dark heart may still wash upon the shore. You can take the frosted sea glass, hang it on a string. You can take the salty sapphire, steam it on the fire. You can take the driftwood, you can take the seagull's feather, you can take the white quartz stone. Don't touch the dark heart. Thank you. And now for something completely different. I need all the help I can get for this one. So this is based on an M.R. James story. Start to get quite shaky doing this one because it's what to say about this one. This is based on the stores of Barchester Cathedral. This is to date the longest track I've ever written and played, and doing it live last October was... Oh, look, the light isn't working. That's brilliant. Never mind, I don't need it. It's fine. I know what I'm doing. Yes, doing it live last October was one thing, and now it's filmed and scary. And anyway, so this is Barchester, and I am singing it, and I have also borrowed the voices of 2/3 of the Dream Team. So this is featuring Sue Manley, both as the narrator and as Dr. Haynes, the murderous archdeacon, and Mim McMahon as Jane Lee, the blackmailing maidservant. And this, deep breath, is Barchester. When I grew in the wood, I was watered with blood. Now in the church I stand. Who that touches me with his hand? If a bloody hand I bear, I counsel him to beware, lest he be fetched away, whether it be night or day, but chiefly when the wind blows high on a night of February.
It might have been augured that an existence so placid and benevolent would have been terminated in a ripe old age by a dissolution equally gradual and calm. But how unsearchable are the workings of Providence! The peaceful and retired seclusion amid which the honoured evening of Dr. Haynes' life was mellowing to its close was destined to be disturbed, nay, shattered, by a tragedy as appalling as it was unexpected.
Archdeacon of Sowerbridge, Dr. John Haynes, in 1810 took up his role. To Barchester he came. His predecessor, Pulteney, at 92 he died, fell down the stairs and broke his neck. The maid Jane Lee was blamed. Step back to Barchester Cathedral, walk once more our marbled floors of white and black, altar screen of finest wood with organ looming high, or pulpit of the classical style, where cherubs contemplate gold Hebrew letters. In the stall of the Archdeacon here we find, carved from the Austin hanging tree, grotesque wooden statues, 1, 2, 3. One crouching, supple, spirited cat, the horned one on Tartarian throne. Between them clad a squire of orders grey, the cloaked and hooded king of terror stands. Winter shadow came upon him, the season turned with candles lit at prayer. His sister moved to Brighton for the winter, Haines' spirits fell without Letitia there. He absolutely shrinks from the dark season, the loneliness of evenings hard to bear. One night his hand slips onto the cat carving. The statue seemed to come alive and twist and turn to bite him in waking nightmare. Whose is the cat lurking on the stair? Cold amber eyes and oily hair, twisting to bite, coming from nowhere. Take care, take care.
My trouble is, I must confess it, increasing upon me. Last night, upon my return after midnight from the deanery, I lit my candle to go upstairs. I was nearly at the top when something whispered to me.
Let me wish you a happy new year.
I could not be mistaken. It spoke distinctly and with a peculiar emphasis. Had I dropped my candle, as I all but did, I tremble to think what the consequences must have been. As it was, I managed to get up the last flight and was quickly in my room with the door locked and experienced no other disturbance.
Whose is the cat lurking on the stair? Cold amber eyes and oily hair, twisting to bite, coming from nowhere. Happy New Year. Whose is the voice voice in the passage here asks me I come in a voice so clear. Better stay quiet and whisper prayers, nobody's there.
The account books of Dr. Haynes, preserved along with his other papers, show from a date but little later than that of his institution as Archdeacon, a quarterly payment of £25 to JL. Nothing could have been made of this had it stood by itself, but I connect it with a very dirty and ill-written letter which was in a pocket in the cover of a diary. Of date or postmark there is no vestige, and the decipherment was not easy. It appears to run,
Dear Sir, I've been expecting to hear off you these last weeks, and not having done so, must suppose you have not got mine, which was saying how me and my man had met in with bad times this season, all seem to go cross with us on the farm, and which way to look for the rent we have no knowledge of it, this being a sad case with us. If you could have the great liberality to send £40, otherwise steps will have to be took, which I should not wish. As you was the means of me losing my place with Dr. Pulteney, I think it's only just what I'm asking, and you know best what I could say if I was put to it. But I do not wish anything of that unpleasant nature. Your obedient servant, Jane Lee.
about the time at which I suppose this letter to have been written, there is, in fact, a payment of £40 to JL.
Said thou a wicked man over him, and let an adversary stand at his right hand. When he is judged, let him go forth condemned, and let his prayer be turned to sin. May his days be few, let another take his charge. Whose is the cat looking on the stair, cold amber eyes and oily hair, twisting to bite coming from nowhere? Take care, take
You
care.
know best what I could say.
My cousin Alan, who I have prevailed upon to stay a few days, thinks that my cat is an unusually large and fine specimen, but very wild.
When he is judged, let him go forth condemned.
You know best what I could say.
There is no kitchen cat.
Whose is the cat lurking on the stair, cold amber eyes and oily hair, twisting to bite coming from nowhere? Take care, take care. I must be firm, 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 I must be firm.
The morning of the 26th of February was cold and tempestuous. At an early hour, the servants had occasion to go into the front hall of the residence occupied by the lamented subject of these lines. What was their horror upon observing the form of their beloved and respected master lying upon the landing of the principal staircase in an attitude which inspired the gravest fears. Assistance was procured, and a universal consternation was experienced upon the discovery that he had been the object of a brutal and murderous attack. The vertebral column was fractured in more than one place. This might have been the result of a fall. It appeared that the stair carpet was loosened at one point, but in addition to this, there were injuries inflicted upon the eyes, nose and mouth, as if by the agency of some savage animal, which, dreadful to relate, rendered those features unrecognisable. The vital spark was, it is needless to add, completely extinct.
When I grew in the wood, I was watered with blood. Now in the church I stand. Who that touches me with his hand? If a bloody hand he bear, I counsel him to beware, lest he be fetched away, whether it be night or day, but chiefly when the wind blows high on a night of February.
Thank you. I'm about to shut up myself now, but I have got one more for you, which is a very, very sensible song. It's quite topical. Oh, look, David's there. Excellent. I wrote this last month, and I realised that it was St. David's Day a couple of days ago, but I actually wrote this one for St. Patrick's Day, to be precise, for a very particular legend. I know St. Patrick was famous for quite a few things, but one of the things he was famous for, of course, was driving the snakes out of Ireland. Now, unfortunately, take the autistic literal brain and put it together with that phrase, and this is what happens. This is Ye Strange and Wondrous Ballad of St. Patrick driving the snakes out of Ireland. In Ireland it's St. Patrick's Day, 17th of March each year. But do you know the tale of how he drove the snakes from there? For dull folks say it's just a myth, but they're all fooling you. For any snake and all his kin will tell you that it's true. It had been an awful winter, this land was damp and cold. The snakes were hibernating, refusing to unfold. Now kind St. Patrick loved those snakes, he knew just what to do. He brought them all inside the church, all snuggled in the pews. But the Irish folks were frightened, they wished the snakes away. So Patrick said he'd take them for a summer holiday. So he hired a cart with sturdy wheels, a fine white pony too. But the poor snakes were allergic, so a cow would have to do. He got the snakes into the cart, all safely loaded on. But Mother Snake was nearly late, she'd left the kettle on. Now will you be having a cup, Father? Oh, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. The cow set off along the track, the snakes admired the view. 5 minutes in, the smallest snake cried, "Stop, I need the loo!" So the snakes piled out to look around, they weren't the least bit shy. No sooner were they off again, "I'm hungry," came the cry. The waitress at the tavern was quite amazed to see a table full of slippery snakes, all wanting cakes and tea. When they climbed upon the cart once more, a fight broke out, you see. "What is it now?" St. Patrick cried. "It's breathed all over me." That night they found a stable, slept comfy in the straw. But the farmer's daughter gave a shriek when she looked round the door. So the snakes departed once again, watching the fields go by, and singing, "Are we nearly there?" St. Patrick gave a sigh. "I'm feeling sick." A green snake yelled, "I want to stop and pee." Just then they came around a hill. "Look, we can see the sea!"
At last they found a fisherman who'd be rowing the right way. But the snakes were all quite worried how they were going to pay.
We're snakes, we don't have pockets. Maybe we can't sail today.
St. Patrick gave his golden ring and the snakes were on their way. They were filled with such excitement as they crossed the Irish Sea. They slithered off in England as pleased as they could be.
I see a dragon,
they exclaimed, now we know what to do. That evening they yelled,
Hi St. John,
we've come to play with you.
Thank you. And that's it from me. So you can all breathe a huge sigh of relief. Go and get yourself another drink, and we'll be back in a few minutes with Sherry and Suzanne and some absolute awesomeness. Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of BTA 14. So now, very special treat for you. I have 2 lovely ladies. Well, one to start with, because Sherry's going to start on her own. Just a quick word. I've known Sherry for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, 4 years maybe. And yeah, she runs Heart Dance record label in America, and she does promotion and she does all sorts of things. She does mine very well, I have to say. But yeah, I mean, she is... Yeah, she's been called a visionary musician. I'm going to embarrass her now. She's been called a visionary musician, dedicated to exploring the powers of healing music. And from what I've heard, yeah, very apt. She's got a diverse background against various, across various styles. And wow, can she play a flute? She's been in the studio this week, and we've been having great fun. So she's going to come on and play a couple of tracks, I think, solo. And then she's going to be joined by Suzanne Lansford, also from, I think, Arizona. I hope I've got it right that they're both from Arizona. Yeah, I'm just so pleased. We've had great fun, and it's been a pleasure to have been entertaining them this week. I think they've been entertaining us as well. They're going to entertain you now, and I'm going to shut up. Please welcome, first of all, Sherry Finzer, followed by Suzanne Lansford.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you all very much. It's such a pleasure to be here. And like David said, we've known each other for a couple of years. And gosh, so when Suzanne comes up, she had invited me to go to Paris with her several months back. And David had reached out about the same time and asked about doing a collaboration. And I said, well, maybe we can work it out where I can actually be there to record, because sometimes when we record, one person records in their studio and then sends the files across the pond, and then that person records. And so sometimes that's how it happens. But it's always great to be working together in the studio. So thank you so much to you and Elaine for having me over, and Suzanne as well. It's been a lot of fun. So since he knew I was coming, this live stream happened to be at the same time. And so it's just a real pleasure to be here. So thank you. That first song was called Thanks for Asking, and you heard guitar and percussion on that. And the guitarist is my good friend Darren Mahoney, who's back in Arizona, and also Will Klipman on percussion, who lives down in Tucson, Arizona. So I have a wide variety of flutes. I was only able to bring a few of them with me. It's really hard to fly with a lot of flutes. So that particular flute was an alto flute that I just played that song on. And I'm going to play that again on this next song. So this next song, you'll hear Darren Mahoney again on guitar. And this was written at a time in my life where my kids had just left the nest, and it was like a new chapter of my life. So it's a little bit sorrowful, but it's about me reflecting back on that time when I was home raising my children. And so this song is called Reflection. I hope you enjoy. So I have recorded many albums, and I really love collaborating with other artists. And that's why I'm here recording with David. I recorded with guitar players, other synth musicians, electronic, ambient, and a lot of pianists. And one of those is named Greg Maroney, who lives in Pennsylvania in the States. So we recorded several albums together, and this is the type of collaboration where he sends me tracks and I record the flute part, and we have somebody mix and master it. So he sent me tracks, oh gosh, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it took me a while to get around to recording my tracks. And then we had them mixed, and they sounded good, but I felt like they were missing something. So I asked my good friend Suzanne if she would be interested in recording some violin tracks for the album, and she did. And what she created was just amazing, and it really made the album wonderful. So I really loved what we created, and so I want to invite Suzanne up to the stage. And the album that we recorded with Greg is called Frost Melt, and I think David said you do get snow here sometimes? Yeah. Yeah, so originally I'm from Rochester, New York, which is, if you're familiar with New York State, between Buffalo and Syracuse, in the snow belt where we used to get average 90 to 120 inches of snow a year. Yeah. We don't see a lot of snow in the desert, but Suzanne's from the Chicago area, and well, she did live there for some time.
Plenty of snowy winters.
Yeah, so she's experienced snow as well. And then Greg lives in Pennsylvania, where it's also snowy. So it was a snow-themed album. So you're going to hear Greg Maroney on the piano tracks, and I'll try to make sure I stop them when we're done. And also, Suzanne and I came up with some poems, just short little poems to read between the tracks. Okay, she's got something to say.
So we were sharing a bottle of wine. We're talking about what we were going to do for this live stream. And we thought we should do something. We should do something like a story or a poem or something. We thought, well, let's write some poems. I thought, well, let's ask ChatGPT to write a poem and see what it comes up with. So that's what we did. So listen to what ChatGPT wrote as a poem for this first number, which is called named. The name of the, we gave ChatGPT the name of the song and told it about what kind of song, what kind of poem that we wanted. The name of the song is Dusty Swirls of White. This is what ChatGPT wrote. Dusty swirls of white arise, spun like ghosts beneath the skies, drifting, twirling, lost in flight, fading soft in amber light. A silent waltz, a moment brief, spun in time like falling leaf, gone too soon, yet still they stay, swirling echoes swept away. Yeah. Hey, ChatGPT. Okay. That was Dusty Swirls of White. Hey, can I go ahead with the second one? Okay. So then we says to ChatGPT, we say, okay, so this next song is called Rare the Snow Falls. So in the desert, sometimes we get really hot temperatures up to 120 degrees. But in the winter, the lows can be in the upper 20s or 30s. It sometimes freezes the dog water if you have dog water outside, little puddles in the street. And it might be thawed out by the afternoon, but it does freeze, snow sometimes. Usually once a year, we get a winter storm that brings us light snow covering. It looks amazing. It looks like a frosty, internally illuminated, just winter wonderland. It's so beautiful. And so it is an unusual event in Phoenix, and then so that was the inspiration for the title of the song, Rare the Snow Falls, and we asked ChatGPT to write a poem about it, and here's what ChatGPT wrote. It lingers not, nor stays too long, a fleeting verse in winter's song, yet in its dance, so brief, so bright, it turns the world to hushed delight.
So a lot of the music that I record these days is more in the relaxation, meditation genres. So it's always fun to play something a little more upbeat. I do a lot of solo flute recordings. There's a place in Colorado that I go to called The Tank, and it's a big, empty, 70-foot tall water tank that was originally built for the Rio Grande railway system. It was never used. It was abandoned and then found in the 80s by a sound engineer named Bruce Odland. And he ran a big Kickstarter campaign to save the tank. And now it's a recording and performance space. And I've done, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 albums there. And Suzanne joined me last year, and we had a lot of fun creating. It's like you're on another planet. It is really something else. So if there are any musicians out there that are interested in going there, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to share more details about that.
So this was my very first experience out with the tank. Jerry says, come on, you got to join me. So I went out there, flew out there. She had been there for a couple of days recording before me, and I got out there, and it's in Rangeley, right? Rangeley, Colorado. So you fly into Grand Junction, drive up through the mountain pass, which is beautiful, and you end up in Rangeley, and it's an agricultural tank or water tank or oil. It was not made for recording, obviously. It was in a kind of semi-abandoned facility that was being commandeered by miscreants, shall we say. And so they decided, okay, we're gonna get our arms around this because it's such a beautiful place. You go in there, and it's like cathedral reverb. You go inside this tank, and so they've set it up with microphones and cameras all around, all the way up to the top and all the sides, and so you get all these channels of recording. And when you walk up to it, it doesn't look at all like any kind of recording facility. It just looks like some rural industrial place. And we walked in, the door was open, and I thought I heard people inside, and I thought, oh, they're not finished, we need to be quiet. But it wasn't people inside, it was our voices whispering outside, going in, rattling around the tank, and coming back out at us a few seconds later. So cool. So it's a place of eternal reverb. And we recorded this song. Did we record this next song there? Not there. We did not there. Oh, well. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Do you want to read the poem?
I do want to read the poem. Okay, so this one is called Alabaster Fields, and this is the ChatGPT poem. So you know, sometimes ChatGPT doesn't understand, and it repeats words, but you just tell it not to repeat the word, and it'll rewrite it just like a student and come back with something better. So here's what it wrote for Alabaster Fields. Time stands still in hush profound, where only heartbeats make a sound, in place where souls, in hush revealed, find solace deep in alabaster fields.
Thank you.
The next song. Do you call them songs, tunes, or pieces?
Songs, tracks.
Tracks.
Um,
Usually a song is sung with lyrics, but I think these are lyrical melodies, and so I've been calling them songs. This next one is called Waiting for Renewal. And on this track, it doesn't have violin on it, but we're here live, so it may have violin on it.
yeah, so you can talk about improvisation.
Oh, yes. Well, that's what we're doing today, improvisation, and that was the genesis of most of the tracks that we do, is it starts with an idea, and one of us adds another idea, and the third of us adds still a third idea, and nobody has to read any dots. And that also means that what you hear today is going to be a little bit different, sometimes a lot different than what you hear on a record. And that is one of the joyful things about live music, is it's not always just a replication of what you can get on a recording. So this is Waiting for Renewal, right? Okay. For the first time with violin, maybe. Okay.
Is there a poem for that?
Oh, there is. Let's see. Well, one of these poems that there's too many words hushed. Like this one. So the whole theme of the record, and you talk about the theme when you use ChatGPT. This is not a lesson on ChatGPT. This is just our experience with it. We tell it the theme, we tell it the idea, and we tell it the title of the piece, and then it does it, and we tell it basically how many lines and what type of poem we want, and it just takes its best shot. But sometimes it runs out of words. This one, it looks like it used hush a couple of times. So I'm going to read it anyway. Okay. The earth lies still in hush profound, beneath the weight of frozen ground. Bare branches reach to skies so wide as whispers linger, dreams abide. Through patient hush, see, if you were writing this poem, you wouldn't use that word twice. Through patient hush and silver hue, the world holds fast, awaits the new. For time will turn and life will bloom, renewal waking from the gloom. I like all these winter titles. We were thinking of the time at the end of the winter when things are starting to melt. Sometimes they don't quite melt, and then you have some more winter, but then sometimes it does melt, and that's just a random thought about this. And then you're very happy. This next song is called Vanishing Horizons. You want to hear the chat poem?
Does it sound like all the other?
Yeah. A little bit. All right. Well, since we've teased it. Okay, it's short. Vanishing Horizons. Step by step, we chase the past. Shadows linger, fading fast. Each road we take, each dream we find, slips beyond, yet stays behind. Thank you. So what I wanted to say that I almost forgot to say was on that track, and some other tracks, I don't play violin. I played a viola on the recorded track. And mandolin. Yeah, on one of these other ones. In fact, this next track, Evening Glow, I just heard mandolin. And so I don't have a mandolin today, so I'm going to fake it on this. I'm not sure how yet, but it's gonna happen. Evening Glow, another one of those winter scene. You can see evening glow, like sunset on the snow, sitting around the fireplace with hot cocoa. All right, ChatGPT. The world lies still in frozen light as winter fades into the night. The sinking sun, in embered hue, melts through the skies of icy blue. Snowflakes catch the golden streams, drifting soft like whispered dreams. Shadows lengthen cold and deep as twilight hums the earth to sleep. It's really pretty for chat. All right, Evening Glow.
That was a pretty good imitation of a mandolin, I thought. So I don't think I talked about all my flutes. I only have 3 here tonight. I have probably 35 or 40 flutes at home. I play a lot of Native American style flute. And I do a lot of the meditational work with those flutes. So just quickly, most people recognize the size flute, which is a concert C flute. You would see this in a band or orchestra. And I talked about the alto flute, which is a fourth lower. Alto can have a curved or straight head joint on it. Curved is just easier, more comfortable for me to play. And people like to ask about this one. So this is the bass flute, which is 1 octave lower than the concert C flute. And this material is, yes, people ask, did I make this flute? Did I get the parts from underneath my kitchen sink? And no, it is professionally made, just it happens to be made with composite plastic. And it makes it lighter weight, much easier to play. Most of these are made out of metal, and they're very heavy. And bass flute players usually have to sit and have the flute propped up because they're just harder to play because they're heavier. But this is nice and lightweight. It fits in my suitcase, and I was able to bring it over here. So I always like to ask during live shows, so I know there's an audience out there on YouTube. So if anybody wants to let me know which flute they like the sound of the best, I'm always curious. Usually it's a split between alto and bass, and the audience here, I would love to know which one was your favorite as well.
We like the U-bend.
The other one? The bass one? Okay. Bass. All right, so we've got another song or two to play here for you from the album Frost Melt. Which one are we on now? Winter Frost. All right.
Can you hear what the chat says about Winter Frost? Actually, this is, they start sounding similar all the time. And so you tell ChatGPT, well, this sounds the same as the last 5 that you wrote, so can you use some different language? And it always comes back with an apology. I apologize. I will try better. How about this? So here, I see a lot of the words hush in here too. Okay, Winter Frost. A hush drapes thick on fields of white, where crystal shards reflect the light. The breath of dawn, so cold and clear, paints frozen lace on trees austere. That's pretty cool. Ice clings sharp to bending boughs, etched in frost like solemn vows. Footsteps vanish lost in snow, where bitter northern breezes blow. No voice disturbs the frozen air, just swirling flakes in dances rare. The world lies still in winter's keep, a kingdom locked in icy sleep. I think I like that one the best, but I like the look of the white one the best. I like
The
them both.
sound of the.
Yeah, sounds really pretty. One vote. Actually, I think it was 5 votes, 6 votes for the bass, maybe 7, and 1 for the alto. I want to talk about this instrument.
Yes.
This is the first time I've played this instrument for people. And before this, I only played it a couple of times to try it out. And the reason I'm playing it is because my violin is in the shop. And it's one of the many excuses that I use to come to France. Oh, I have to take my violin to the shop, like we don't have shops in Arizona. Oh, and it turned out it was a good idea because my violin, I took a fall with it. I was goofing off, as you can imagine, goofing off with this wireless that's dancing around the restaurant. And when I came back on stage, I fell with it, and not this one, but the other one, and it broke. It cracked the front, and it just. These sounds of pain and anguish I'm hearing, that's exactly how I felt. Yeah, violent. And it cracked the face of it, which was especially, I don't want to say traumatizing, but it kind of felt that way. Because the violin, my parents bought me that violin when I was 13, and it was made in 1795 in Mittenwald, Germany. And so when we picked it up from the violin shop in Portland, Oregon, it was a Schubach violin shop. The owner handed the violin to my parents and said, "Now I know you're giving me money and I'm giving you this violin, but I don't want you to consider yourself the owner of this instrument. You are now the steward of this instrument. And other stewards have taken good care of this instrument for hundreds of years before you. And if you do your job right, then people 200 years from now will still be able to play this violin." So whenever something happens to it, especially if I was being silly with it, I kind of feel like it's a calibrating moment, like, okay, that was not a very stewardly thing to do. But going to Paris and taking it to Emmanuelle Fayette to get fixed up is a very stewardly thing to do, and that's where it's at right now. And she gave me this beautiful violin to play for you because she knew I had to come out here and play. This one is from the 1800s. The name inside is Nicolas, and it hasn't, I don't know anything about it except it has this beautiful inlay. And sometimes we make compromises for these instruments between the heritage and the sound and the function. So usually these tuning pegs need to be really smooth moving. These are not super smooth moving, but these pegs have the original inlay in them. So what do? Do you sacrifice your function for today's pegs or what? I don't know. So I love this. I love this violin, and thank you, Emmanuel, for loaning it to me. And so that's the story of this violin. Oh yes. Oh, my other musical life. I am very honored and happy every year that we continue to play in a band called We Three. And it is headed by Renee Patrick in Arizona. Renee is a singer. Her father was a member of one of the original Ink Spots groups. And so as a tribute to the Ink Spots music, that's the root of the music, and it goes off from there to anything you can imagine, from Stevie Wonder to Ella Fitzgerald and Glenn Miller and classical things and Latino things. And it's just crazy, the things we do. And the piano player that we have is, I say we have, like she's ours. We have Nicole Pesci, and we're mighty lucky that she is in the group because everybody wants to have Nicole Pesci in their group, and because she's amazing. So if you look up Nicole Pesci and Renee Patrick, you will see some wonderful musicianship, and also We Three. So we have one more. We're going to finish with Silver Thaw. So Silver Thaw, the first time I heard this word, my parents and we were living in Portland, Oregon, and there was a silver thaw. And we said, "What's that?" It's when there's freezing rain that covers everything with a sheet of glass. And the most magnificent thing about a silver thaw is when it starts to actually thaw. And you have these glass molds that pop out of, like, if it rained on a berry, like a red berry, and it starts to thaw, it'll pop out this hemispherical glass shell around the berry. It's magical. So that's the title of this Silver Thaw. And here's ChatGPT's poem. The sky lets fall a glassy rain, a whispered touch of fleeting chain. Each drop descends in frozen flight to weave the world in cloaks of white. Bare branches bend in crystal weight, locked in ice by winter's fate. Wait. Oh, I should have thought of this. Fences gleam and fields lie still, trapped beneath the frozen chill. Yet in a hush of silver sleep, the quiet streams still softly keep a song of warmth, a breath so thin, where spring's first promise waits within.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, everybody watching on YouTube. It's been a real pleasure. And I think we're going to be back to do some funky stuff with David. All right, thank you.
I actually think that really they should do something else, don't you? I really think they should do an encore. Absolute encore, please.
Well, I guess here's my question. We could do another similar track, or we could do an improv that's just flute and violin with no other track. Oh, I think that's what they would like. All right, so in this case, I'm going to ask you, which flute would you like me to use? I think it's this one.
That's fine.
All right, sometimes I ask what key you want us to play in, but I'll leave that to Suzanne.
It's friendly, a violin-friendly key.
Sherry, Suzanne, fantastic. Loved it. Wonderful. And yes, indeed, we will see you a little later on. You're going to come back and carry me to the end of the show, I think. Okay, we're going to take a short break, 5 minutes or so, just to change a few things around. I believe we are now going to go off air in 3, 2, 1. Hi, and welcome to the last part of Beyond the Airwaves, number 14, How Time Flies. It's been a great evening, and I'm going to finish off with just 3 tracks, both about 9 or 10 minutes. The first one I'm going to do on my own, and then I'm going to be joined by Sherry, and then Sherry and Suzanne to close. So I'm going to start with an old track. I haven't done it live for a long time. This is Deeper from the Deeper album. Right, so what I'd like to do now is to invite Sherry back. Yay! And we are going to do. We played with this in the studio. It's an old track called Worlds Beneath, and you did some amazing flute on it. I'm just going to sit here and watch you play. No, I'm not. I will. I might try a bit of ambient guitar as well, and we'll see what happens on this. But we'll try and do the theme thing that we did earlier. So yeah, let's see what happens with Worlds Beneath. Yeah. So we're now going to, yes. Welcome, Suzanne. Come on, it's late. We are going to finish with it's a new piece, which I think we call it Magic Carpet at the moment, which was a kind of a working title. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is just a bit of fun. That's our excuse anyway. So yeah, Magic Carpet. I'm not sure if that was a magic carpet ride or a magic nightmare. I'm not sure really, but yeah, it's fun. So it's been a fun. Sorry, yeah. I think that's definitely something we want to work on. It was just an idea, literally, last minute in the studio, and I said, "Oh, let's just see. It's a bit of a rhythm." Thank you both. It's been amazing. No, ladies and gentlemen, Sherry, Suzanne. Hooray! And yeah, thank you to all of you. Well, first of all, thanks to the Dream Team, to Stefan, to Graham, Carys, obviously, beta testing in the evening, and she always does. You know, Elaine in the background. Thank you, Elaine. Oh, sorry. Yeah, come on. You should. Sorry. Yeah, come back on. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Come on. You know I have to. Yeah, have to be prodded. Yes, Carys. Yay. Yes, and thank you to those who came tonight, and thank you all for watching. We hope you've enjoyed it. Just a very quickie, I've got to say hello to my granddaughter if she's watching. Yeah, I was just going to say, she should be in bed by now, but you might watch it later. And I did have a note, just to say, because I've actually made sure I've got the date written down this time. So please join us for BTA 15 on the 25th of July, when it's Purge. Yay! So yes, unfortunately there will not be. It's going to be a stage full of synths on that occasion, and I have actually got the date right. Oh yes, and yes, Carys will now present.
Where are we on? Which one? That one. Okay. So tell me.
So yeah. Code Indigo are performing 2 concerts, reformed this year, for 2 events. We are in Bungay at the Fisher Theatre on the 24th. I knew that. 24th of May. And then the Diode Festival on the 7th of June, where we were joined by Ron Boots, Ian Boddy, Schoolerman, thank you, and Pete and Jez, who are performing as Infinity Curve. Tickets £35 available from the Bonington Theatre in Nottingham. Virtual tickets available from AD Music, same price. Great day out, tickets, well, we've sold well over half the tickets now, so if you're going to come, please. I think that's it. Again, other than to say, have I forgotten anybody? The staff here, obviously, as always. Thank you for watching at home. Pardon? I think I did thank Elaine, but Elaine is always worth a... Yes, double thank you again, Elaine. I think she's in the back. I can't see her because I've just got lights. Sorry, I'm staring at lights. That's my excuse. So good night, one and all. Again, thank you for watching at home, and we will see you on the 25th of July for BTA 15 Purge, Carys and myself. Good night, one and all. Bye-bye.